Hey friends, welcome back to She's At It Again. My name is Tanya, and today I'm going to make something that I've had this in mind for quite a while, but just keep putting it off because, I don't know, the recipe's just a little drawn out, and not so much as far as a lot of ingredients, but it's just one of those things, I just have to time it right because I can't have company waiting for very long to eat it because it needs to be served immediately after you get it ready. This is a recipe for what's called shakshuka. And if you've ever been to a restaurant in a place called, or someplace like Israel or a country like that where this is served, it just looks like fried eggs floating in a bunch of tomato sauce. It does not look appealing. And I saw it on a breakfast bar years ago when we were touring Israel, and I refused to eat it. It just looked disgusting. But my curiosity got the best of me, and I tried the recipe, and it is phenomenal. We always get excited when they're serving this. We're going to be sharing this with neighbors, and we're going to keep part of it. So let's go over to the stovetop, and we're going to make some shakshuka. Okay, here we go. I've got my skillet heated up, just on medium-low heat. We're going to put about 2 tablespoons of olive oil in here. These are my vegetables I cut up last night. I hesitated to make a video of this just because it's a Sunday morning. We just left church and got home, and I'm sharing this with the neighbors across the street. And I thought it would be too much as far as my time constraints, but it's not. There's not really a rush on it. So anyway, so in this container, this is what I chopped up last night, so it wouldn't take me so long to make this morning. This has a large onion, diced up real small, a ½ pound of fresh mushrooms, sliced, just kind of rough chopped. It has 2 medium-sized bell peppers. One is orange and one is red, but at least a cup of diced red peppers is what my recipe says. I wrote the recipe, so. And I have 1 jalapeno. I've got it seeded and chopped very, very small. So that's all that's in this right here. The information I'm gathering is that this recipe has its origins in North Africa, in the Ottoman area. So, like I said, we had it, well, no, take that back. We didn't have it. That'd be telling a lie, wouldn't it? I didn't have it. I saw it when we were in Israel. Would not even think of eating it just because I'm thinking, to me, it looked like tomatoes and ketchup, and I'm not a fan of ketchup of any way, shape, or form. I love tomatoes, but I'm not crazy about ketchup. It's just like sugar with a little tomato waved over it. But then when I came home and I actually got curious about it, found a recipe and tried it, I thought, man, I wish I'd have eaten that in Israel so I could have seen what theirs tasted like. It can't be any better than mine. I mean, it's impossible. This is just such good stuff. Okay, I've got a can of tomatoes here, and I'll show it to you before I start opening it just so you can see what I'm using. These are diced. You can use the crushed, but fire roasted is what I always use in recipes. I buy these by the case, and I love them. They make salsa taste better. They make spaghetti sauce taste better. They make lasagna taste better, and they make shakshuka taste better. But the fire roasted just gives it a fabulous, kind of a smoky, almost like a barbecued taste or something. I don't know. It's really good though. We're going to let those vegetables saute for a minute until you want to make sure your skillet is large enough. I wish I could tell you this is about a 9-inch skillet. My skillet says number 8 on here, but it's about 9 inches across. But you want to make sure it holds plenty. Now don't use something like a stock pot, because when this mixture right here, the tomato part of it is done, we're going to take eggs and put eggs all over it, and they're going to cook. We're going to put a lid on it. So a stock pot wouldn't work because you need something where you can actually scoop the eggs out like this and serve them from the pan. So something with tall edges wouldn't work. So we use something short and something wide. If you have a large skillet, that'd be great. Okay, to this I'm going to add, let's see, a teaspoon of salt. We're also going to add a teaspoon of ground cumin. And you can do this before your mixture gets sauteed and soft all the way. You can just add it as you're cooking those. Half teaspoon of paprika. Half teaspoon of ground turmeric. Be real careful when you either get this on your hands or your clothes, it's not coming out. You can see it's a bright golden color. We also need half teaspoon of black pepper. I think I might have some already ground. Yay, just enough. Half teaspoon black pepper. I don't really buy ground pepper already. I grind it and then I put it in this because it already has a label on it that says ground black pepper. How handy is that? And I need a 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. And I always like adding cayenne to stuff because it's so good for you. So 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne. This isn't a real super spicy dish, but if you're real sensitive to spicy, then just dial it back on the cayenne just a tad. Even the jalapeno doesn't add an immense amount of heat to it, surprisingly enough. It just adds such good flavor. Okay, my burner is about on medium right now. Of course, it's a gas, or not a gas, it's an electric element, so you can tell by your flame what's medium. But mine is just a number, so I have my setting on about medium. I'm going to put this 28-ounce can of the tomatoes in there. We're going to let this simmer a bit, but I'm going to put this lid on it because I want the heat to stay in there. Now, in the meantime, what I'm going to do is we are going to take a bowl. Well, I call it a bowl. It's not really a bowl. It's a measuring cup. And we're going to put our eggs in there. Now, you can use whatever size eggs you want. I would say use the best quality eggs you have or are able to get, even if you have to go to the store and buy the pastured eggs, free range, whatever, the best eggs you can find. But I get eggs from my friend, and she has chickens that are free to roam an immense amount of property, and they forage, and they eat worms and bugs and meat products in the ground, and the eggs are fabulous. Now, she has these little chickens, and they're called sea brights, and they're the cutest chickens ever. They're so funny, and they're only the chickens. I don't know. Maybe they're a foot tall. They're just tiny, tiny chickens. They're full grown, but the hens lay the cutest little eggs. How cute is that? It's a little bit bigger than a quail egg, but not even as big as a small chicken egg. They're just the cutest things ever. So what we want to do is we want to put our eggs in, let me find the cup I'm looking for up here. We're going to break our eggs into a regular cup. Then we're going to transfer them once they get in there. I don't want a shell in it, and I don't want it broken. but then I'll put them in this. And after this gets heated up really good, we're going to pour our eggs over it, and they're going to cook basically like a fried egg on top of this mixture, because the steam from the top is going to cook from the top. The heat, obviously, from the bottom will cook from the bottom. So we're going to be over here breaking our eggs into the cup. If you have larger eggs, you're obviously not going to use as many, but I'm probably going to try to put as many of these in here as I think I can possibly fit in the skillet. So we have 12 of those tiny little eggs in there. Okay, this is what we're going to put in there next at the end. Well, I've got to put chicken broth in there. This is some feta left over from something else, and a new box of feta. Okay, this is homemade bone broth. If you have chicken broth, that'd be great. Just add it to that, just a little more liquid. And you see how full this is? That's why I'm hesitant about the number of eggs that I put in there. I don't want it overflowing the pan. I wish you could smell this, because I can't take out that the smell when I'm looking at it, because it smells so good. But just looking at it on the screen, it may not look like it's very fragrant, but I'm here to tell you, it's so fragrant. And plus you have those pretty orange and red peppers, and the red tomatoes, and then the brightness of the green little tiny pieces of jalapeno. So pretty. All right, so our mixture is obviously done as far as being hot. Our vegetables are so sauteed to where they're pretty much tender. The onion pieces in there are transparent, translucent, so I know those are done. I'm not going to get a crunchy onion on you. So normally if I'm using larger eggs, I'll take with my spoon and just make a divot there and pour the eggs in. But for right now, these eggs are just going to get poured directly on the top. And I'm so grateful it did not go over the edge. I'm going to try to separate these just a bit to where they're kind of spaced out evenly. But I'm probably not going to do a very good job of it. All right, now we're going to put our lid back on so the eggs will cook from the top. Then when those get done, I can at least see through this lid. So that's the key. If you have a skillet that has a clear lid of any kind, that's great. Otherwise, you just have to keep opening it up and peeking in, and it just lets the steam escape. They don't cook quite as rapidly, but I can see how these are done. So this is perfect. So we are almost done. You see how quick that went together. I think I'm going to use this as the spoon that I used to dip out portions of it to send to our friends across the street. Yeah, because you don't want to just get the egg. If I just wanted to get the egg, I'd use something like a slotted spoon or some kind of egg turner, but I want the tomato stuff and the vegetables in there with it. So now I got to figure out which pan I'm going to put it in to transfer it over there. Okay, here's one of the brands of feta that I'm using to put in it. This came from our local Good Measure Market, and they have really good quality stuff. So I know when I had this the other day, I think I had this on a salad or a pizza or something. I can't remember, but it was super good. I'm in love with feta. Never had feta as a kid. I didn't even know there was a cheese called feta. I just thought, you know, slices of cheese was an exotic brand, or cheddar was actually exotic to us because we normally just had American cheese slices. But here's another brand that I found. I think I got this at our local Kroger the other day. But I noticed that it was manufactured in Greece. So I'm pretty pumped about that. It has a kind of a brine in the feta. I probably need to drain that out. Okay, this is too funny not to share. Normally I wouldn't. But I'm going to. I feel like I'm in an episode of I Love Lucy. I picked up the feta from over there and then I brought it down here. And I don't know if you can see that trail of liquid. I just carried it all the way over to the sink there on the other side. And I got a trail and brought it. This is ridiculous. So I'll need to clean that up when the video's over. Oh my word. Oh. Oh. Okay, I'm going to turn my heat off, and the residual heat from that is going to finish cooking the tops of these. So the next step is going to chunk our feta up a little bit like this. I'm just pressing it in the package, getting it in little pieces. You'll probably see a brand, I don't remember the name of it, but I'm not going to mention it anyway. There's a brand in the store. In fact, there's probably several brands that you'll see that of feta that it contains natamycin, and I personally try to steer clear of those because natamycin is I think it's an antifungal. I could be wrong. I could be wrong about that. Yeah, I think that's right. But anyway, it keeps cheese from molding because there's so much surface to it. So normally if you have a chunk of cheese that has an air pocket around it, or if you have little crumbles of cheese, they'll use natamycin in it to keep it from molding. It's a mold inhibitor. That's what it is. Mold inhibitor. Yes. I knew the word would come to me eventually, but it's getting slower. But if you happen to be taking some kind of medications, it will interact with those and deem them worthless. So, okay, next step is to put our feta chunks on there. And I would say you'll need at least 4 ounces of feta. But if you like feta a lot, just put as much as you want. Kind of like the cheddar cheese thing. Just, if it calls for a cup, I'm probably going to be putting 2 cups on there. But with feta, yeah, I love it so much. It's very, very salty. And I just think it's absolutely delicious. So if the recipe called for 8 ounces, I'm liable to put a pound or 2 on there. It's just that good. I want to say originally this recipe I watched Food Wishes and got the recipe from him. So Chef John at Food Wishes, thanks for that recipe because this is phenomenal. And if you're thinking back going, she didn't put any garlic in it. This does not have garlic. I actually had to look at the recipe twice because it reminded me, I don't remember putting garlic in that. Yeah, there's not any in there. And you will not miss it, I promise. It's so good. And I've never served this for breakfast, but I probably would not even be opposed to it. Because of the eggs, people just associate it with breakfast. But this was, again, on our breakfast bar when we were in Israel. We were actually I think in Tel Aviv the first night we were there. And like I said, I looked at it and went, no, absolutely not. But like our friend that was leading the tour, Monty Cox, said, just to let you know, you're not here for the food. And he was right. Mediterranean diet's just not necessarily for me. I kept thinking I was seeing popcorn chicken and it was fried cauliflower, and I was so distraught by it, but I wasn't there for the food. I was there to see the places where perhaps Jesus walked in. Some of the stories of the Bible came to life there, and it was my favorite trip I've ever taken in my life. I would go back tomorrow if I could, but again, it wasn't for the food. Okay, let me wash my hands and we'll dish this out. Now, had I tasted the shakshuka that day, I might have said, yeah, the food wasn't anything in Israel to write about, but except for that one dish that I ate at breakfast that morning, that was really, really good. but I didn't eat it. Okay, I'm trying not to step in the drips of this stuff, or the feta brine just below me. That's just ridiculous. All right, we're going to get this dished up. I have to slice some bread. I have a loaf of sourdough over there that I'm going to slice up. And I have some gluten-free oatmeal pecan cookies that I made the other day. I'm going to send it for dessert. All right, let's see if I can get this out of here without dripping it all over the place. Oh, you know what? I got to take a picture of this. Hang on just a minute. Let me turn this on. Okay, sorry. Sorry for the interruption. I had to do a thumbnail picture of that before I dished it all out. And I'm so grateful my neighbors are not picky eaters, because otherwise they'd open this up and go, what is that? That looks like a pan of trash. It's not very attractive. Now, sometimes when you use the larger eggs, it really does look very pretty. It looks like a bunch of fried eggs on a nice bed of vegetables, but this right now doesn't necessarily look that attractive. This is probably the biggest mess I've made in a long time, but that's okay. All right. That's going to stay warm. All right. This is our meal that we're sending across the street. This is our meal that we're going to be eating ourselves. Yes, this is going to be so good. Okay, so we're going to be ready to eat in just a minute. There's our shakshuka. We're going to send that to the neighbors. And it's going to be good. It smells so good. I so wish you could smell this, because even if it doesn't look good, it's so good. And I promise you, you will enjoy it. All right, guys, thanks for joining us. Sorry this has been such a chaotic video with me dripping things all over the floor. Oh, recipe is in the description. Go get that jalapeno, go get some feta, go get those peppers, and go get those really, really good eggs. Find you an egg farmer if you can get really good eggs that way. So we look forward to sharing something again with you real soon. Again, thanks for joining us. Bye.